Are you ready?
I am good to go. Let's do this thing.
Jeremy, are you ready?
Sure. That's one too. Yep.
We're expecting a lot out of you this week, Jeremy, because you haven't been here in so long.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
Don't worry, we expect that as well. I love your face. Your facial expressions say it all.
Yeah, did you convey fuck you, asshole?
Usually. Is that just to me?
Usually.
Welcome to a new episode of The Usual Saints, the last for 2021. So we'll do a little bit of a wrap up. We'll talk about some stuff. We'll go as long as we go, and then we'll come back next year with a brand new show. We have an interview lined up next week with voice actor Isabella Tugman. So I'm pretty excited about that. I always love when I can get someone to come on the show and talk shop with us. But let's see. Saint, you've been on for the past few weeks. We'll get to you in a second. Jeremy, what's been going on with you, man? You decided to come back.
It's fucking working. What do you want me to do?
I want you to make this a priority in your life like it should be. Fucker, Jesus Christ. Look at Saint shaking his head.
I worked a shit ton of hours to make sure I didn't have to work Christmas or New Year's, so
okay,
just what it is.
All right, so nothing exciting going on.
No.
Are you caught up on Hawkeye?
No.
Have you even watched Hawkeye?
What's the first four?
The first four?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen Spider-Man No Way Home?
I have.
Oh, we could get Jeremy's opinion on it since we couldn't get it on the one we recorded after Saint watched it. Jeremy, what did you think? What was your take on Spider-Man No Way Home? And give us your review.
I liked the cameos that came in. That was cool.
You can say it. This is spoiler territory. Spoiler alert for anyone listening. If you already listened to the USSR, then you know. Yeah, you can spoil it. It's okay. Go ahead.
I mean,
speak freely.
Daredevil was cool. I was honestly shocked how long all three Spider-Men were in the movie together. I did not expect that at all. I thought it was going to be, 5 minutes at the end of the movie, the end of the fight scene, they show up and it's over. So the fact that they were there for seemed like an hour of the movie was pretty cool. Just unexpected. Other than that, I mean, the ending kind of sucked. I mean, can't have a good day. That sucked.
In fairness, that is Spider-Man. That is the the crust of the Spider-Man story in the comic books. Like, it's always Peter Parker having to make the choice of being Spider-Man or living the life that he wants to live as a teenager, and the consequences of if people found out he was Spider-Man, how that would affect the people around him. So that's always been like what the comic books have been about. So it's in line with the traditional Spider-Man ethos, I'd say.
The other thing I liked, and I've seen a lot of it on the internet, is was it Wong? Just peace out, y'all. Have a good day. Good luck. Come out. Also.
Funny that'd be what you relate to. Jeremy's like, all right, fuck you guys. Well, go ahead.
The other one was, the meme that's been all over the internet the last couple of days with, every other superhero when, the world's about to end. Where the fuck are they? Nobody else shows up to help. Where, come on. Where's Hawkeye? He too busy with the family with the tree or some shit. I mean, where the fuck are the rest of these guys? But that's just me.
Well, they're busy. What happened at the end of the last one? Let's see. So we have Wanda. She's doing her thing in the cabin. We got Loki. He's, found out that Kang, the Conqueror, he's somewhere else. The Avengers. I mean, Chris Evans is like 170. Tony Stark's dead. Black Widow's dead. Spoiler alert. And So who are you expecting to see show up? Ant-Man or Thor or?
Sure. Ant-Man fucking lives in New York, right? What the fuck?
Does he? He lives in San Francisco.
I thought it was New York now.
Maybe. Nah, Ant-Man, I believe, yeah, he's in the Bay Area. So Ant-Man's in the Bay Area. That gives him an excuse. Thor's with the Guardians of the Galaxy. What's Bruce Banner? I guess Hulk doesn't really have an excuse. I mean, but he's gone from Smart Hulk back to Banner, apparently from She-Hulk. From the previews we get in She-Hulk, he's back there. Yeah, I guess Hawkeye really doesn't have an excuse per se. He's should be there at the same time that Spider-Man's there from the end of the movie, unless this took place in the fall. Maybe Clint hasn't gotten there yet, because at the very end, it's the same Rockefeller Center Christmas tree that he swings over and, Rogers, the musical billboards. That is a very good question. I mean, the only one that really shows up is Doctor Strange, and he's supposed to be in this movie. So, yeah, I guess hard time for the Avengers, it's
just a little weird. What you gonna do?
Do you have a favorite Spider-Man out of the Spider-Men?
The newest one's probably my favorite of the three. I mean, Tobey Maguire looked fucking old. I mean, he looked like Seabiscuit ran his ass over.
He looks like us.
But I'm not in movies. I'm not in movies. But he looks like Seabiscuit ran his ass over, man. It was bad.
They did allude to, I mean, the whole thing about his back, that's like a call to, like, he was actually going to get replaced by Jake Gyllenhaal in Spider-Man 2 because he hurt his back filming Seabiscuit. And so that was the allusion to, oh man, my back, it's killing me. It's like, yeah. And if I recall, they also made fun of that in Spider-Man 2, where he talks about landing on his back. There was a back reference joke in that also. But yeah, man, he's late 40s, almost in his 50s. And he's pretty much been out of the Hollywood limelight for this. But, with all the Spider-Man, basically his whole career can be summed up in, yeah, I made Spider-Man movies and Spider-Man money. Probably made over close to $200 million just off Spider-Man, which is, if you think about it, ridiculous. But
I was trying to think what else. I mean, Seabiscuit, but he kind of went away after Spider-Man. He's not been in a whole. Was he in Cider House Rules?
Yeah, he was in Cider House Rules. Me and Sainte, I think, talked about that at one point. I don't remember if it was Hawkeye or the Spider-Man. Or maybe it was on the main podcast. There was some controversy, right, with him and something about him like being a dick or something like that, and that kind of spoiled and soured his relationship in Hollywood. It was that movie you told me about, Molly's Game.
Have you seen the movie Molly's Game, Jeremy? It's a movie about poker, but basically, this, you wouldn't call her a madam, but she became the house, or she ran high stake poker games in Hollywood and New York. And when she started, she was in the Los Angeles area. First, she just started as a waitress, and she had a dick for a boss who was running these high stake games where people like Leonardo DiCaprio, Ben Affleck, Alex Rodriguez, big time sports and Hollywood athletes, they'd come and play in these high stake poker, underground poker games for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And Tobey Maguire was one of the guys. You can see it in the movie. It's played by who's the guy from Arrested Development?
Will Arnett?
No. The kid that plays Michael Bolton.
Oh, Michael Bolton.
Isn't that his name in Arrested Development? Isn't that his John Michael or something? Michael
Cera is who you're talking about. Like
Michael Cera, right?
Yeah. What's his name? George Michael. Why
did I say Michael Bolton? Yeah, his name's George Michael. But same thing. So he played, and actually he kind of was getting, because a lot of people didn't want to take that part in the Molly's Game movie because everyone in Hollywood knew who he was portraying, and he was portraying Tobey Maguire. I mean, the book, eventually she got arrested, went to jail, didn't go to prison, but, had a lot of shit. She got found guilty, but had a lot of shit because she run these underground poker rings and stuff. And she wrote a book about it, got sold. But there was a big brouhaha about who's going to play this character because everyone in Hollywood knew who it was and didn't want to step on the toes of his agency and the people because, I mean, even though he wasn't, doing big time movies, he still was coming off that Spider-Man run. But yeah, supposedly, as it goes, he was a big time player in these underground poker games, and he was just a dick, and he was just treated her like shit. Would abuse the waitresses. Just had a complete 180 image of his Peter Parker, Spider-Man image that he had, which understandably so his agency would want to protect. But, forced her to move from LA to New York to start some new games because he was like, basically, I've bankrolled you and I own you. And if you don't do what I say, well, I'm going to tell all these other players not to play with you. I mean, at the time, Tobey Maguire used to run with, Leo DiCaprio, that whole crew and whatnot. And so, yeah, it was a thing. And when that whole thing came out, he kind of saw the writing on the wall before the whole Me Too thing and kind of just slowly backed away. I mean, he made it more than enough money off his Spider-Man run. Just the amount of money they paid him for Spider-Man just to come back for part 3 and the residuals. I can't even imagine how much money he's made just sitting on his ass, just collecting checks over the years. And then he gets to come back and do Spider-Man No Way Home and probably get a nice $10 million check out of this one. Life ain't been so bad, but yeah, that's the reason why we haven't really seen him. He's pretty much gone the opposite of the Leo route and just slowly backed away with his truckload of money. So,
Jeremy, did you have a favorite villain performance or anything in the film? Anything that stood out to you? Any of the what are there 5 villains, right? Oh wait, but the Tree, the Sinister Six, the Tree was pretty good. I liked him.
I did see that meme. They're like, "What are you talking about? There's no Sinister Six," and then they show the Tree because that was one in the cells too. I thought it was pretty funny. But go ahead, Jeremy.
I probably liked Melina. I liked Doc Ock. Probably the most one-on-one screen time because he had that first kind of fight. And got had the most character development. I mean, obviously Green Goblin is what he is. He's the asshole and killed Aunt May. That was bullshit. Sorry, spoiler alert. I was supposed to say that first.
No, you don't have to. Anyone who listens to this podcast should probably know that it's a spoiler alert. That spoiler alert covers the entire conversation about Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, I mean, and then the insurance guy, he's fucking annoying. Whatever the hell his name is.
J. Jonah Jameson?
Yeah, that guy, the insurance guy.
You don't like J.K. Simmons?
Nah, he's fine. Just that's probably the worst villain in the fucking movie is just making Spider-Man out to be the asshole all the time. That's just, yeah.
That's always been his gig though, but it's just in the MCU, they blew it up from what it was, from him just trying to sell newspapers and figure out who was taking these pictures and all this, Peter Parker and how he was getting the pictures. They blew it up to he's basically Alex Jones, selling the products at one point. I think he was selling like some muscle powder or whatever he was fucking selling in the movie. But yeah, what grade would you give it? With this is a little short review, just like we had on the USSR. But what would you give it?
Just because I don't know. I guess I was a little disappointed in the climactic battle scene. Probably an A-. I mean, it seemed like that scene was a little, I don't know. Really, Sandman is just sitting there spinning around you for about 3 minutes so you guys can have a nice conversation. It was a little, it was kind of like in was Endgame when all the women line up in a line and just stand there for 10 seconds to pose. It's like, come on. That's just distracts from what you're doing all around the scene. Fucking have a 3-minute conversation in the middle of Sandman swirling around him. But that was probably the only reason it's a little lower, but that's a good movie. Kid enjoyed it.
So are we gonna address the fact that you're anti-women because you don't want them to have screen time, the same screen time as men?
I'm fine with the screen time. They just didn't need. I mean, it was a little bit on the nose.
I'm in complete agreement with Jeremy. I hated that. I hated that. I was in the theater rolling my eyes so hard. Like, come on.
So this is my first time going to a theater. and I went to a theater that you're familiar with, Mike. That's where we work together. One, holy shit, is that place a piece of shit right now?
Yeah, dude. Fucking run down.
Well, not even that. Trash on the floor. Lights. There's no lights in the lobby. Only lights in the lobby. You know, remember the lights on the side of the Radiant Radiant screens that we would turn on to say that the theater was ready to be seated? Well, they replaced them all with white lights, and that's the only fucking lighting in the lobby. It's bright as shit. You can't see anything when you look over there. And none of the screens or the Radiant screens in the lobby above each theater, none of them are fucking working. I'm like, holy shit, is this place a piece of shit? Then, watching the damn movie, maybe it's just me, but the theater was pretty crowded. As soon as the movie ends, credits start, I'd say 80% of the theater left. Then there's the mid-credit scene. I'd say we were down to 5% left. I think the 5% of the theater stayed and watched the last end credit scene. I'm like, it's a fucking Marvel movie. Who the fuck is getting up before the end of the credits? What the fuck is wrong with you people? I mean,
right.
Even if you're not, sure if there's one, fucking after the credits is a fucking website and says, hey, there's a scene in the middle and a scene at the end. Where the fuck are you going? I mean, you paid to come see this movie. Where the fuck are you going?
I'm going to say the same thing happened in my theater. Less the first one. I mean, I think most of the people stuck around, although there was a few stragglers who left right after the movie ended. But after the Venom credit, the mid-credit scene, yeah, I'd say most of the theater got up and left. And I was still telling like my family, no, wait, there's still more. Although, to be fair, it really was just a trailer for the next Doctor Strange movie. So technically, you really didn't have to stick around and see it. It was on YouTube the next day. So that kind of annoyed me that all we got was a trailer for the next Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness trailer. But yeah, man, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, have you people not been watching the Marvel movies for, was there even one? I believe was Endgame the only one that did not have an end credit scene. I think Endgame might have been the only Marvel movie where they're like, yeah, there's no end credit because we're going to be rebooting. Because off the top of my head, I can't remember if there was an end credit scene for that movie. But yeah, you think by now, I mean, Marvel's pretty much the studio that practically invented the end credit stuff. So
it's just odd. Question: Is there an end credit scene on Hawkeye? Did I see something that like the TV show had an end credit scene?
Yes.
All right, so I'll have to make sure to watch that because
yeah.
Don't spoil it for him. Let him figure it out himself.
But yes, there is an end credit scene.
All right.
All right. So let's see. We talked about Spider-Man. I know Jeremy just added some topics to the list. I just want to say that it's the happiest time of the year. It is fantasy football playoffs, and guess who's in first place and is going to win this week, hopefully. And Jeremy's probably going to lose. So yeah, I'm excited.
Hey, I'm projected to win by 3 points.
What's his name? AJ Brown, man. He got 36 points on the other team that's playing you, man.
I saw that already.
You better hope for a miracle.
One of his defensive tackles only got 2. Fuck, I got a player out already. God damn it.
Sainte, are you in? I know you're not in my league. Are you playing any fantasy? I know we may have talked about this earlier this year, but you in the money leagues? You're saying you're muted, Buck. You're still muted. Sainte is not a professional.
I am a professional. I've got over 15 cents in the USSR account right now. But no, I would have joined your league to, you guys had those individual defensive player, that nonsense. And it's just too much to keep track of. I'm actually glad because I would have, with this COVID infected season, I've just been pulling my hair out, but nah. And then also I'm also the type I refuse to do those snake auctions. I only want to be in a league that has the auction type leagues. I can't do the snake drafts anymore. So, oh well, it's for the best.
I love
I've never done an auction type.
Say again?
Be interesting. I've never done an auction type draft.
Trust me, you do an auction type, you will never, ever want to go back to the snake draft because auction, I mean, yes, it takes more because, and I guess now you can do it over Zoom, although it's not as fun, but you get most of the people, like I said, I think twice. No, I've done it 4 times, and twice there was someone who was there via, I think back then it was Skype. I don't think it was Zoom back then, but they did it over Skype. So we had one person virtual, but then everyone's in the room and you just call out a name, whoever is up first calls out a name and you'll be like, okay, you'll say Aaron Rodgers or, what's the guy from Kansas City? He'll probably go for a lot. Patrick Mahomes for $1. Somebody go 2, 3, 4. And then, you have $200 and, you can decide how you spend your money. And it's just, I think it's just a more fair way. Like if you really want somebody, and then you always have the idiot who's like, it's my quarterback for my team. So I'm going to break the bank because I have to get Ben Roethlisberger because I have to have the Steelers quarterback. And, there's always some asshole I've literally been in leagues where somebody paid like almost $70 for Ben Roethlisberger. And I know the other guy was just kept bidding with him just so the guy would keep spending his money because he knew the guy wanted that quarterback. So there's a lot of, there's some poker in it too. There's a lot of bluffing because, some guys are just bidding on guys just to either keep them away from people or to raise the price. So I think it's a much more fun time. And it's to me, it's way, it's a much fairer way to do it than the snake draft, but
to each his own.
Interesting, but it seems like it need to be a limited number of people. Mike's league has 30 positions and 16 players, so that would be tough to do an auction for that. I mean, how do you
again? It's like, is fantasy football becoming like another job? It's like, what are we talking about here? Like, my goodness.
Thanks to Mike, I'm now projected to win by 7 points because I replaced that cornerback. But thanks. I mean, how many rounds do you go with the auction type? I mean, do you fill your entire roster auction wise, or how does that? I mean, seems like it would take forever.
Wait a minute. Say that again. How many? What?
Like, it seems like, I don't know. What do you guys like? 10 players on the team, 12 players per team, or?
Yeah, usually, and I play in 2 different leagues. Usually, they have the standard quarterback, running back, 2 wide receiver, or no, it's 1 quarterback, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end, and then an open position, which is running back, tight end, wide receiver. You have a team defense, and then just a couple of reserves. You keep the number of players. I think one position was like running back, wide receiver, tight end. Then there was quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and then team defense and special teams gets rolled into team defense too. But you keep it short and simple, and that way trades are easy to tell. People get on the wire. It's easy. It's just simple. It's just get in, get out. But to me, like I said, it's much more fun. It's like the draft is half the fun. The draft isn't like a play. Like all 4 times I played, it was like a big, like people were getting together in a party house with a bunch of beer and pizza, and you all sit there. And, the draft lasts a lot. It's like a 3-4 hour draft, but it's just fun when it's like, especially if you have somebody who you kind of want to get that kind of like a sleeper and you're kind of like hoping no one says it, but, people, it's a lot of mind games that go into it. So I think I prefer that because, the draft comes first and then, playing regular fantasy. But your guys' stuff just seems like, man, just like you need an Excel spreadsheet just to keep track of all the bullshit. Jesus.
It's not that bad.
It seems like yours needs to be like a closer group of people and a smaller group of people to be able to do
right.
This. Otherwise, if you had 16 people playing, that's going to take fucking forever.
Right. But then now with Zoom, I guess I remember, one of them was like 10 and one of them was 12. So it's like, you don't want like too many people, but you can still do like 10 or 12 people. I mean, that's perfectly fine. And each pair, you got 12 people. There's only going to be 12 top tier quarterbacks and everyone else, you kind of get your choice of second pick. Like, I'll pick this guy for $1. And someone will be like, all right, $2. again, the 1 year where I won both of my leagues, I picked up both of my. That's the year I picked up. What was it? Gronkowski and Jimmy Graham, back when Jimmy Graham was with the Saints and Gronk was with the Patriots. And I think it was like their first or second year in the league. And for some reason, I felt like I think they're going to be throwing a lot to these huge monster tight ends. And I got both of them for super cheap. I mean, that was back then when people wouldn't even buy, I'd say this is still like what? 13, 14 or something like that, where, running back still dominated. But, I bought them. I was able to get 2 tight ends super cheap. That's how you win that league. Those leagues, like, you tend to try to save your money and, try to balance it out by finding, value in some sleepers, as opposed to the snake draft where you just have to sit and wait and hope nobody jumps in front of you while you wait for your turn.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the charm of it. That's what I like, but I don't know. Whatever. I like not knowing who I'm going to get until my turn comes around, but that's me.
By the way, fuck you for staying first place. I fucking had Derrick Henry, man. I'm still fucking in the playoffs. Still got a chance to win, even with him going out.
There was a stat. Wasn't it? Was it last? I think it was last week. I think it's surpassed now. But there was a stat last week that Derrick Henry was still leading all running backs in touchdowns, and he hadn't played since October. It was something crazy. It wasn't this week. I think it was last week where people were like, yeah, Derrick Henry still leads all running back in. I forgot what it was. Was it? I don't.
What's going to be the cold open? I can't help it. It just
wait,
heard that one or not.
Oh wait, did you not record that?
No, I don't think so.
Jeremy's like, oh fuck, now I got him twice on my screen.
I don't know if that was recording.
It's okay. All right.
Yeah, you guys. What were you guys even talking about before? You were talking about Derrick Henry, and then Zoom just crashed on me.
No, that sucks.
I was saying that the stat was like I think last week. Before this last week, Derrick Henry was still leading the league and still leading all running backs in touchdowns, and he hadn't played since October. So it was if you had Derrick Henry in your fantasy, you kind of got screwed this season. But 'tis the fantasy football.
He's I think it must have been a while ago because he has 10 on the season rushing touchdowns. Someone named Jonathan Taylor from Indianapolis, he has 17. James Conner has 14. Joe Mixon has
total?
12.
What about total? I don't know. I don't know if it was just rushing or it was some crazy stat. I know it wasn't this before this last weekend, but I think the very beginning of December, it was something where he still had some kind of he was still leading the lead in some statistic, and he hadn't played since October. But anyway,
I would say maybe yards after contact or something would make sense, but
possibly.
Do you guys watch? Do you guys watch Good Morning Football or whatever that show is?
I've heard it's really good, but no, I don't. I don't know if it. I was going to check it out, see if it's a podcast, but I'm probably just not. But I heard it's really good, though. I
think it's on the NFL Network. It was just on when I was at lunch today, and there's this cute host on it. I didn't know if you guys knew who it was because I have no idea who it was. You're so predictable.
What was that?
Jeremy said, "What's his name?" More Jeremy with his homophobic humor, man. Cancel culture, man. You're going down.
No. It's not homophobic. It's you take it to be homophobic by being offended when I say it. That is the homophobic part because you're upset that you might be called gay.
Are we talking about Colleen Wolfe or the other one?
I don't know, man. She's cute. She's she seems short. I don't know. White girl. I don't know. I tried Googling, but I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know if you guys knew because you guys are more into sports than me. I'm just the
NFL Network.
There's a Kay Adams and there's a Colleen Wolfe. I don't know which.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Was it blonde or brunette?
Brunette.
Okay, so probably it's Kay Adams. Okay. So Kay Adams, she's the cute one. Good Morning Football. I always wondered if people like are people ever interested in like people's fantasy talk? So I was like, people care about their fantasy teams, but they don't give a shit about anybody else's. Like I care about my fantasy team. I don't give a shit about your shit. Like, all
right, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll talk about death and Mike's Chad moment of the week and whatever else we talk about. And hopefully it won't crash this time. You're listening to The Usual Saints. We'll be right back. next week when we have this interview, I'm going to be over in the West Coast. So Sainte's going to have to take the lead on. Yeah, I'm going to be gone for a month. Sainte's going to have to take the lead on recording and editing and stuff.
They put you up in a hotel or what?
Yeah, I'm going to the Holiday Inn Suites Express, whatever. I said, I'm a bigger guy. I need a king size bed, and they made it happen. So
you're going over for a month, huh?
Yeah, going for a month.
Now, do they pay for your room over the weekends, or do you have to leave every Friday and come back Monday, or? We
might as well use this fascinating talk in the show. So welcome back to the Usual Saints. I'm Mike D here with Jeremy and Sainte. I don't think I introduced this at the beginning of the show, but that's fine. Everyone should know who we are by now. But Jeremy and Sainte, me. They're paying the 26th to January 21st. So yeah, I mean, if I want to stay over there, don't want to drive back, that's fine. I don't know that I want to drive back every weekend. I'm thinking maybe 2 of the 4 weekends, maybe, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But it's fun. I like hotel living. I'll miss the family a little bit, but I enjoy.
I was gonna say, is getting the daughter back before school going to be a problem?
No, she can just
get up and take her sometimes.
She can just get dropped off by Heather earlier, or if my dad can help, then my dad might help. So. But so let's see. Death and add anyone. I only have 2 people on the list from a few weeks ago because we didn't cover it last time we did this. If anyone else died, let me know. So Anne Rice died, author of Interview with the Vampire and all that kind of stuff. I tried reading the book. I watched the movie. I never really read any of the other books or anything like that. So I wasn't a huge fan, I'd say. You guys fans of her work at all, or
no?
I mean, besides, all I know is Interview with a Vampire, and all I know, there's a big controversy because she didn't want Tom Cruise to be in it, but then I guess she saw it, and then she said he was great or whatever. She changed her mind after she saw it. They made that god awful Queen of the Damned movie with Aaliyah, which was just terrible. I was like, ugh. I mean, you waited this long to make this sequel, and you choose Aaliyah and make a horrible movie. But besides that, I think the vampires, I've never been really that big on vampires except for Blade. And that's basically like a guy who just kills the vampires. I've never really gotten the whole fascination with vampires. I guess maybe Lost Boys. I mean, maybe that was the last vampire movie I was really into, not into the whole Dracula stuff. But nah. I haven't read any of her books, but was she famous for anything else besides the vampire series? I'm not too familiar.
I think it was mainly
big presence in New Orleans.
Yeah, but that's it. I mean, none of us seem to be really big fans. So R.I.P. Anne Rice. I spelled her name wrong on the list too. It's Anne, I think. And then Michael Naismith from the Monkees. Either of you Monkees fans? We know Hey Hey, we're the Monkees. They sang some other songs. Daydream Believer, I think.
Was he the only one that actually played a musical instrument? I think there's something where most of the Monkees couldn't play or sing. I
don't know.
Actors.
I feel like they were almost the first boy band. I mean, unless you want to say the Beatles were, but I don't think the Beatles were. I think they were kind of manufactured, by whoever manufactured them. So
yeah, they definitely were. They were picked. Wasn't organically made or anything.
So, whatever. RIP. Not a huge fan of either one. There's no huge deaths there, but let's see. Jeremy put on the list the Colorado truck driver. Now that's a fucked up situation. I didn't know.
Wait, did we want to switch over? There was one more death we had, but there's another death, but I'm pretty sure.
Did Mike missed a death.
I missed a death. Michael Strahan.
No. I should have added it to the list, but Joan Didion or Didion. I guess how you pronounce it.
Is this your neighbor?
No. Pretty good one. She was a famous author. She was in her 90s. She wrote a lot about contemporary America and things of it. She had a famous book called Miami, and the only reason I know about it, me living in this area, a lot of people I guess you guys too, but I guess I'm more maybe in tune to more of the Miami sports scene, the Miami politics. But She wrote a book called Miami back in 1984 that dealt with the city of Miami, the racial dynamics, with the Cuban community, and how Miami was the Miami of now is the America. There was all saying the Miami of now is the America of the future, and all the problems that you see in the city of Miami, you're going to see in the rest of America. And it's sort of kind of played out that way. She also worked for New York. Was it the New York Magazine? I think it was New York Magazine for a long time. And she wrote about a lot of cultural issues and things that dealt with, but she passed. So just wanted to mention her. And another death, R.I.P.
R.I.P. I saw she died, and I know who the fuck she was, and I didn't click the article. So, but that's the good thing about having more than one person, because you know a little bit that I don't know. So, R.I.P. Joan.
I know a lot of it that you don't know, but we can continue.
I wasn't gonna say it. I was being nice.
I don't know everything. I'm okay at some things. What is it? The trivia thing. I know a little about a lot of things. That's what I know. All right. So Colorado truck driver, Jeremy, you added it. Like I said, I was not that familiar. I did not remember this incident happening. What was it? Last year, the year before?
2019. I think it actually happened.
All right. So go ahead and talk a little bit about it.
So I guess 2019, there's a traffic jam on a highway in Colorado, and this truck driver, I think he's like 23 at the time, comes over the hill, tries to put his brakes on, didn't work out. His brakes failed, is what he claims, and he ran into the back of this traffic jam, and I think they said 4 people died and many more were injured. They charged him with vehicular manslaughter due to the state's case was, there was a runoff that he didn't use, and he didn't. I don't know. I think that was their main argument, was he should have used that, and why did he, not get off the road? And he's like, hey, I tried to use my brakes. By the time I realized the brakes had failed, I was past the fucking runoff. There was nothing I could do, and a lot of people were, pissed off, and he was convicted. And the judge said the minimum sentence he could give him based on the charges was 110 years in jail. And so since then, there's truckers unions have called for a boycott of driving trucks through Colorado. There's a petition, I think, is up to 4.4 million people to get the governor to give this guy clemency or something. And I just saw today, or I guess late last night, they put out a release that the prosecutors are looking at a way to maybe try to reduce the sentence. But people are like, it wasn't the guy, he didn't own the truck. He wasn't responsible for upkeep of the truck. The company he worked for was. It's like, how are you blaming this guy for his fucking brakes failing and fucking 110 years in jail when Bernie Madoff, gets, 20 years for stealing everyone's money. Other guys, people walk up and shoot a cop in the head and get 10 years. I mean, shoot somebody in the head, get 10 years. It's like, how the fuck are you giving this guy over 100 years in jail for this? For something that not really his fault.
Right. Just to add on to some of the stuff that I read, because, the story seemed a little, I'm like, you hear something like this and it's like, okay, is there something I'm missing here? There's some circumstances that are not missing. So apparently, I guess what's standard with all truck drivers, before you're supposed to go, I'm assuming these are kind of like air brakes, and every driver, he was only 23 when this occurred. He's 26, 27 now, right? Or maybe he's only 25, or maybe he's 23, 24 and it happened. But some circumstances were before you go, you're supposed to check your brakes before you leave. That's supposed to be standard. But again, like you mentioned, this isn't his truck. It's not like a privately owned truck. So it wasn't like, he jerry rigged his own truck somehow. It's a truck the company gave him, and he did what he said was his normal inspection to say, hey, okay, things are good to go. Also, I guess, like you said, the thing this case kind of hinged on was there's supposed to be a way where if your truck's going, he's supposed to be trained to veer his truck out of the way if the brakes don't work. But, to me, like you're saying, that's a lot of assumption, assuming, and you're in an emergency, crisis or a situation like that, you don't know, someone might panic, they might freak out. And if your truck's not working, he'd just be slamming on the brakes, trying to get his brakes to work. Another thing that to take an effect, the way that Colorado, and this has to do with our legal system and our judicial system, how it works all over the country. But Colorado has readjusted their laws to make it so like the judge had to give his sentences. They couldn't run concurrently. They had to be stacked one after another. So that's how come him getting the charges ended up being 110 years to where he got convicted. Like you're saying, I'm not saying maybe there is some responsibility that should go on, but there has to be some kind of prosecutorial discretion to be like, hey, let's look at this situation. Even if you want to bring some kind of charges, you can't say this guy woke up. He wasn't, there was no evidence of drugs. He wasn't drunk. It was like in the middle of the day. It wasn't like he was over, had been on the road for 12 hours or something negligent like that. So there should be some kind of prosecutorial discretion to say, hey, let's take a look at this case. I mean, maybe if you want to make sure he's no longer a truck driver, maybe put him on probation, do something. But yeah, this just seems like a complete, just throwing the book at this guy for what looks like legit to be an accident. So.
Yeah, I think it's just the way the court system and their sentencing is set up over there, because I think everyone is kind of in agreement. I mean, the jury found him guilty of 27 counts of one thing or another. And so it all just stacked up on top of each other. And I mean, in my opinion, I don't think he deserves 110 years. And it seems like everyone's doing whatever they can to kind of fix that. Whether or not it's probably not a long-term fix. It's probably just this case. And then they'll have to look at long-term fixes to adjust the system. So hopefully something like this doesn't happen again. Obviously 4 people lost their lives, but I think even those families are like, that's too harsh of a sentence for this guy. I remember reading that he pulled over to the side of the road before the accident because I think he thought something was wrong with the brakes, but he checked them out and everything was fine. I think I also read that he said when he was approaching the backup, he was going to pull over, but there was another truck on the side of the road, so he could not pull over right there. And then before he knew it, he was on top of it, and then the crash happened. So it just seems like it's an unfortunate thing. I haven't signed the petition. I'm just lazy. And I think there's probably I'm of the unfortunate mindset, not when it comes to actual voting, but I'm like, one more name on the petition is not going to do anything. So I'm not signing it. The truckers,
I think we're all in agreement of that. All 3 of us are like, yeah. What's my name going to do? Sorry, buddy.
The truckers, lining up on the side of the road outside the state. I think that's a cool visual, and they're trying to make a statement. And so, I mean, I feel for the guy. I don't think he did anything intentionally, and I think hopefully he gets some sort of justice. He probably deserves some time, for vehicular manslaughter. It probably should be less than a decade. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Just 4 people who he didn't mean to kill. It was obviously an accident, and it wasn't his fault. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
So on a related note, I was at work last night and we were talking about this case, and then we were talking about how truckers could fuck up pretty much anybody they wanted to in this nation, because they decide, you know what, we're not going to your state anymore because fuck you, we don't like what you're doing. We're not going. Well, think about a hurricane. How long does it take to get fuel back? How quickly are the gas stations out of fuel? Those truckers just decide not to come. You're fucked in about 3 days. There's no more gas. Food's not coming to your stores. I mean, this nation can't, you can't survive without truckers delivering shit in this country. There's no other way to do it at this point. I mean, it's like, fuck. The Teamsters decide they're not coming to Florida or Colorado anymore. That's going to put a serious hurt on your economy.
And actually, I kind of like the idea of people using your power. It's like, hey, if we have the power to influence something that we feel is unjust, especially when it comes to labor, it's like, I like when people decide to use it, because really trucking is not an easy job. And, there's a big shortage of truckers right now. And if they feel like, hey, man, this is some bullshit, it's kind of encouraging that people are actually using their economic, power to initiate change. Could you imagine a state like Florida, if there was no truck, where we're situated, the state would be fucked, completely fucked, all the way from Miami to Tampa to Palm Beach and all that. So I think it's a good thing, but hopefully, people come to their senses. And this guy, again, if it's your responsibility to make sure your brakes work, and if you didn't, follow all the procedures, I'm not saying he shouldn't get any time or anything like that, but it just seems massively excessive for what boils down to being an accident.
I think Hawaii is probably okay without truckers, but that's probably
they're not.
That's probably the only state. You think not? I mean, gas. I get it. Gas is the thing.
You still got to get the products from the port to the store.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You need a truck. You're not doing that in a Honda Civic. It's not happening. You need fucking trucks. And Elon doesn't have the driverless ones yet, so you're out of luck.
That guy. I'm sure he'll be like, I'm sure he'll step up and be like, I'll solve the trucking problem. Just have the federal government give me billions of dollars and I'll just, take all the credit. It's like, shut the.
So you kind of went into my other topic, which was unions and strikes and whatnot. I think this past week, the fastest growing subreddit on Reddit, which, I'm sure you guys know what Reddit is, was anti-work. Just in the past month or two, John Deere, Kellogg's, both have had to settle strikes with their workers in the workers' favor for the most part. Amazon is having walkouts daily at different sites, both because of the tornadoes and just because of the working conditions. And I think I saw something today that Apple employees were planning on walking out of their stores today on Christmas Eve in protest of their working conditions and being underpaid and whatnot. And just, I don't remember there being such a upwelling of kind of union support and just workers saying, hey, fuck you guys. We deserve better. It's the first time I've really seen to this extent. Usually you got one company here or there. But seems like I know the internet got behind the Kellogg's workers because Kellogg's decided, all right, you guys want to strike? We'll hire other people to do your jobs. And I know there was a online push to submit as many applications as they could to Kellogg's just to jam up their systems so they couldn't actually get through to people who actually wanted jobs. They were just fucking.
Just get those K-pop girls on your side. If you can get those K-pop girls, they will jam the shit out of anything. They literally have nothing better to do. Those like Korean K-pop fans, they will get on. If you get them on your side, they'll fuck up someone's servers for sure. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's just the first time I've kind of seen to this level workers standing up for themselves and people supporting them. Like I know people were. Fuck Kellogg's. I'll go buy, this. I'll go buy Post cereal because fuck Kellogg's, or first time I've just really seen it working in our time.
Right. I mean, if we look back, I don't know how much history you guys like, but or are into, but I think the middle class in this country were at its best when unions were the strongest. I mean, the reason we have a 40-hour work week, the reason why most people get the weekends off. Child labor laws, all that kind of things because of unions. And my personal opinion is there should be a balance. There has to be a balance between, the corporations and their workers. And it seems like for us, we're all children of, late 70s, early 80s. That's when, our time frame we were born. And through the 80s and 90s, we were sold this bill of goods where a lot of people like, oh, I'm not pro-union. Only thing that unions do is encourage the worst of workers, which is true. I mean, you can always look at anything, point out the worst aspects of it and use that as a negative. But it's shown for a fact that jobs that have unions, you get better work, you get better workers, you get better pay for your workers. Workers tend to have better retention and tend to stay on the job more because they have benefits. They have a better, just a better quality of life. And I think what's happened now, especially in, the last few years, the internet age, I mean, when you see Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos just going back and forth on who's the richest man now, $200 billion, just an astronomical amount of money for a small amount of people to own. And this isn't like me. I tell people all the time, you shouldn't be against anyone becoming rich. But when you look at something, you'd be like, and again, you shouldn't tell someone to do with their money, but you can't tell me Amazon workers are getting trapped in their warehouse with tornadoes, have to pee in bottles in order to, make sure they're on time to get whatever they need to, work in the factory or whatnot. And people like that are barely making above minimum wage, but yet the people in the executives at the top have an astronomical amount of money. It's not just 1 or 2 billion. You're talking about one man having $200 billion, literally could not, if he tried to spend all his money, is that what he did in all this time? You would have to buy the most ridiculous luxury items in order to do it. If he lived a normal life, there is no way he could spend all that money. It'd be impossible. But yet you have hundreds of thousands of your workers who are barely making, over minimum wage. And eventually, I mean, if you read all the things about, how nations fall and dystopia, eventually, if your workers get treated like shit and they're not, benefiting, if they're not being able to rise themselves up from their status with their jobs, eventually you're going to have people eventually saying, yeah, fuck that shit. I mean, I think I think what the pandemic has done, I think it's just supercharged everything. I mean, me and Mike, we've talked about on the USSR how the pandemic has kind of just supercharged people rather staying at home than going to see movies like West Side Story, The Duel, and all that. It's like, I think the pandemic has given people an opportunity sitting at their homes to really evaluate, what things really matter. And, I'm going to work for these people and they're making huge amounts of money at the top. And it's not, there's no such thing as trickle down economics. It doesn't make it work its way down to the workers. So it doesn't really surprise me that much. I mean, I feel that this is the way we're going to keep going, especially if the people at the top, people lost their jobs, all this, production that's lost, these restaurants, but yet the richest people have gotten only richer during a worldwide pandemic.
I concur with your statement. No. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else I can add.
My Marxist rant that I just went on for, but go ahead.
No, I mean, I've never been a part of a union. If I was a teacher, I would have been, because I was a teacher for a month back in the day. But yeah, I know, right? I've had so many jobs. But every company seems to be anti-union. But yeah, I mean, I think I've said this before on the podcast. I'm of the opinion, because I've read articles and studies on it. Well, I've read articles that have read studies about it. That $70,000 is like that is the level you want to make in order to be happy. You going to say? Go ahead.
It was at 1.75, but yes, as we've gone on, and of course inflation and everything, so now they anticipate it's about between $85,000 and $90,000. Like, that's how much you can make, and everything above that is just incremental. Like, once you hit 80, 90,000, the amount of happiness that money's really going to take, it's just more convenience that you're going to have. But now it's about 85 to 90,000.
So, I mean, I'm of the personal opinion that if I only want to make as much as I need to be happy and to take care of my needs, it's like you said, it just makes things easier if you have more. But $200 billion, like, come on, bro. Like, I mean, I can't even picture that. You see some people do those YouTube videos where they show in grains of rice or something like that. They show like a grain of rice is 1 year's salary or something like that, and they have this huge pile of rice, and that's like Jeff Bezos's net worth. It's not even all of it. So it's just, you can't picture it. It's not something a human mind can comprehend how much money that is, because in all actuality, it's not like he has a Scrooge McDuck vault, which I really want to. I want to see something like that in real life, right? Someone try to dive into a fucking vault full of coins and break their neck. Like,
I'm sure Jake Paul or Mr. Beast, one of those assholes, they'll probably try to do something like that.
One of those YouTubers.
Maybe not. Mr. Beast isn't so bad. It'd probably be Jake Paul. Mr. Beast, although his stuff is a little performative, he's not as bad as the Paul brothers. But
gotcha. Yeah, I mean, so spread the love, man. Spread the love. I mean,
well, here's a perfect example. Let's take the owners of Costco. They are not poor by any means. They are millionaires many times over, but they could have much more money. But everyone that works at Costco, Costco is one of the companies that has one of the highest employee, what would you call it, satisfaction rates.
Satisfaction, yeah.
Yeah, because they pay them well. They offer some benefits, and the owners of Costco admit, they're like, yeah, we could make a lot more money. We could cut costs. We could put a lot more money in our pockets, but they choose not to because they're like, we feel like doing it this way, we have more loyal and better workers. And you ask people that work at Costco, and they're like, yeah, I like working here. It's a good job. But these other companies, they literally look at their employees like you're a number, like you're just a number, and we want to be able to replace you at a drop of a dime. You're replaceable. That's the Amazon way. I mean, kind of Elon's a little different, but his whole thing is, I don't know, his more of, I feel like Elon's a little more like boosting himself up more than he really is. I don't want to get into that. We don't have to get into that if we want to, but yeah, just power to the people. Viva la revolution, all that stuff.
Well, on a good note, like I said, John Deere and Kellogg's both got what most agree was a great contract for their workers. And the first Starbucks in America went union, I believe, last week. And it's like in Seattle, like a couple blocks away from the original Starbucks and a couple blocks from the biggest Starbucks. And so there is a movement to unionize, and I'm curious to see what happens to some of these Amazon workers that have walked out recently. If they just shut down the center, well, yeah, more or less.
Jeff Bezos is going to have him killed. he doesn't need to go on the dark web. He doesn't need to go on the dark web to hire a hitman.
He has a guy for that. He's not going to do it himself. There's a guy for that.
Do the wet work for him.
Quick question. So, Mike, do you actually have
somebody?
Do you have a number in your head? Have you actually sat down and thought of a number of like, if I made this much money, I probably would be happy enough where I wouldn't be trying to like make any more. Not saying that, investments or anything, but if a company paid you like this amount of salary, is there a number do you think if I made this much, then I wouldn't be out here trying to, I'd be perfectly content with that number?
I mean, like I said, I thought, and this is just based off the articles. This was that guy in Seattle or whatever a few years ago that he owned that credit card company and he paid everyone $70,000. They bought him a Tesla and thanks. So, right. I'm just going off that, I mean, obviously I would like to make more money to make it less stressful because, that way you don't have to worry about like, I'm not, I'm in a pretty good situation right now. I'm an adult, I guess. Now at this point, like, I feel like I've been struggling for, 20 years or something like that. And finally, me and Heather mainly her make enough to where we don't struggle so much. So I like, because I deal with a lot of families where they are struggling. And that's not a knock against them. It's just life. And so I feel like that they need to be in a better position, and whether that's the government helping them or companies that they will work for, paying them a living wage. I mean, because think about it. I think the federal minimum wage is still $7.25 an hour. Yeah. That is, what is that, $20-something thousand a year? I mean,
it went up this year or last year, I think. Didn't it start going up to 9 or something already?
I don't know. I don't know if it's over 8 yet. It actually might be 8 something. It might be 8 something. We'll Google that. Well, go ahead.
$7.25 according to CNBC.
Is there any state? Is there any state that's below that, at that, below? Maybe Mississippi. Mississippi and Alabama probably are still at that. It
can't be less than the federal, right?
Well, yeah, I'm saying, but I think they're right at the federal because most states are above that. I know this because I lived in Washington State, an hour north of Seattle. Seattle has the highest, Washington has the highest. And they also require, even if you work for tips, that you get paid the minimum wage. So tip workers in the state of Washington actually make pretty decent money. But I know most states are still either a little bit ahead or some states are a lot, of the federal. So, but I think probably the states in the South are lowest.
DC actually, according to this minimumwage.com, it's paid the highest, $15.90 an hour, followed by, it looks like California at 15. Washington is at $14.49. So it's up there. It's top 3, followed by Massachusetts. So, it's all the basically places I would want to live, the more liberal places.
The cost of living in Washington is insane.
Of course.
Yeah, it's well, I'll caveat that because I used to have some insider. If you live in and around the Seattle area, yes, it's ridiculous. Just the cost for homes, even though everywhere's gone up, but at one point the cost of homes was ridiculous there. And if you live in the greater Seattle area, I'd say within, 20 miles of Seattle, it is, but there's some areas in Washington where it's not that expensive. You can live out in the sticks in Washington also. I mean, it is higher cost of living than I would say, most places in the South, including Florida, but not that bad. But the real crunch that you feel is in the greater Seattle area. That area is just ridiculous of the cost of living is to live there. I'm sure just like San Francisco, LA, New York. So
let's play a game. I'm looking at the list, so I guess I won't. name a state that you think has the lowest minimum wage.
Okay, I'm taking Mississippi.
You would be correct. $7.25 an hour, federal minimum wage. They also have the lowest tipped wage. They're still at $2.13, so you can make $2.13 an hour plus tips in their state.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are they the only state at the federal minimum?
No, I don't know if it's dozens, but I'm looking at this list and there's several.
We're mostly in the South and the Midwest, right?
There's a lot of them you would expect. I'll say that, but that's why I want to see what Jeremy's guess is, and I can go through the list.
No, I'll go with South Dakota. I don't know.
South Dakota, Jesus Christ, that's $9.95. Jeremy, you fail. Let's see. Alabama, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, New Hampshire. That's shocking to me.
Wow.
North Carolina, North Dakota. You should have gone north, Jeremy.
Damn it.
Oklahoma, Pennsylvania. See these ones. I know Pennsylvania's purple, it goes back and forth, red and blue, but $7.25 an hour in where the steel workers are, and with Philadelphia. I know, but it's crazy.
You've always heard what the thing about Pennsylvania, right? It's Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and Alabama in the middle. That's always the term of Pennsylvania. So I've never been. So I mean, I've drove through Philly and wanted to just stop and see the sights of cheesesteak, but I've never actually been there. But that's what I've heard of that state.
South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. That's the list. Surprisingly, Florida's not on the list. Florida up there is to $11 an hour, and their tipped wage. Anyone want to take a guess at the Florida tipped wage?
$4.25.
Sainte?
I know before was low, but yeah. Am I going to go high or low? $4.25. I'll say, I think these were referendums. No, I'll say $5.
So $4.25, Jeremy, I think he said that because that was the minimum wage me and him started working, I think. Right, Jeremy?
I started at $4.15, but I was
okay. No, according to this minimumwage.com, $7.98 in Florida now for the tipped wage. That's pretty good, For Florida, I'm shocked to see that. All right, so let's wrap up this B block. We'll come back to a short C block. You've been listening to the Usual Saints. We'll be right back. Oh, I'm so tired. I'm so hungover. Welcome back to the Usual Saints. I'm Mike D here with Jeremy and Sainte. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about. So I went out last night, played trivia by myself. Whatever. I won a round. He only gives one round per team, which is annoying. I don't really love going to trivia there, but
do you just leave after you win then?
I should, right? But me, I'm too competitive. He does give it twice sometimes. If you're the only team that wins every question. I mean, the tiebreaker is circling a number, so whatever. It's all right. I usually have people that I play with there. That's why I went. It was at 8:00 and they texted me at 8:04 saying they were sick. I'm like, whatever. So I had, 4 or 5 sours when I was at Kilted Mermaid. And then I left and went to Walking Tree to meet up with a coworker, had one more sour. And Man, I don't know. I know I'm 41, but I'm just dragging today. And I did forget to eat dinner, so I ate a large McDonald's French fry on the way home. I should have had that beforehand to absorb everything while I was drinking. But yeah, man, like my head is just like today. You guys, I mean, Jeremy, I don't know if you drink much anymore, but you guys you guys getting hungover? Didn't mean yesterday. I mean, in general, like if you drink enough to get intoxicated or really buzzed, and you get hang out, do you find yourself getting hungover a lot more than when you were 20s?
It's been a long time since I've gotten drunk, but I learned quickly in college that all right, no matter what, fucking drink some water before you go to bed. As soon as you wake up, hydrate. So I didn't do too bad with hangovers for the most part. Never had one that really knocked me on my ass too bad.
Saint?
Yeah, same with Jeremy, learning how to do the whole water thing. And I mean, for a time, there were a lot of like little tricks, little stuff that they would sell for hangover techniques, and they, with varying results. But now, when I was younger, again, I used to, DJ when I was working at a nightclub. There was like, I actually sat and thought about it. I was like, there was almost like a 10-year period where I'd never actually paid for a drink. All I would do was just pay the bartenders and stuff where I was either working at or just hanging out with other DJ friends. So I was never actually paying for drinks, and just shots. But yeah, the age and working on the fishing boat is taking their toll. Like now, like I can't go more than a couple. I used to be able to down shots and all that kind of thing. Now, a couple of drinks, man, I'm just hurting. I still try to remember to take a bottle of water before I go to bed, try to pregame a little bit with some water, but now not like you used to. It was the big 4-0 just a couple of weeks ago, and man, not that useful, where you could just drink the next day, wake up and get back at it. Nah, those days are long gone. So
I had a couple mojitos on my cruise, and I think that was my first drink in like 6 months. I just don't drink.
Are you allowed to drink with your condition? I'm not trying to like get all personal or anything, but like, diabetes or whatever. I didn't know like, yeah. I didn't know, like, I don't know. I didn't know if it would like mess up your sugars and all that kind of shit. So,
I mean, I don't want to be sitting there drinking fucking daiquiris, but yeah, I can drink some.
Gotcha.
How are the mojitos? Were they good?
They were all right. They didn't have mint in them. They used a different herb.
That's the thing.
In San Juan.
You can get some places you get a great mojito, but most of the times you don't really get a good one. Because I've had a great mojito. I'm like, wow, and someone's like, yeah, that's a real mojito. But most of the time you get them, they just kind of like, do whatever funky thing with the recipe.
And it was on a fucking excursion called Mojitos and Mofongo.
Mm-hmm.
And the mojito was okay. The mofongo was pretty good. The mojito was okay.
Yeah.
What the fuck is mofongo?
It's it can be pretty much anything, but the one we had was yuca with like a chicken and tomato stew. You just sit there and fucking use a mortar and pestle to crush up the yuca. That's what we were using, and then you pour the stew in it, and what it is, spices and shit.
Do you eat it?
Yeah.
I never heard of it before. So this is the first time hearing about mofongo.
I actually passed a restaurant on my way home today called the Mofongo King. I drove by it on my way home today. It's on Bayshore Boulevard.
Right, all right.
Between Dixie.
How do you feel? I mean, go ahead. I was saying, Jeremy, how does he feel about cruise? I mean, he just went on a cruise last month. You read about this cruise that just got 50 people at COVID. Right.
So we went on Royal Caribbean last month. We were the first cruise on that ship since COVID. It had just come across the Atlantic, and we were the first people to get on it in the U.S. Our cruise was like 50% capacity. Our rules were you had to be vaccinated if you were over the age of 12 at the time, because they had just approved the 6 to 12, and people didn't have time to be vaccinated yet. So the rules at the time were you had to wear a mask anywhere inside, unless you were in specific vaccinated only venues. Then as a as a guest, you could not wear a mask during vaccinated only events. And even at all the shows, there were vaccinated and unvaccinated seating. So most of the time you still had to wear a mask because they were still in the same room, but you still didn't sit together. And the eating was all vaccinated and unvaccinated and segregated as well.
It's segregation. It's like the smoking and no smoking that back in the restaurants.
It was vaccinated people were not even allowed to go sit in the unvaccinated, which to me, it seemed like the unvaccinated should kind of be, okay, you have to stay in your section. But then there's no seats left in the vaccinated section. They're like, hey, can we sit over there? Oh, no, that's only for unvaccinated. Well, I'm fucking vaccinated. I'm good. I don't care if I sit next to them. Nope, you can't sit there. It's like, what the fuck? All right, sure. But yeah, we had no issues on our ship that we heard of. To get off the ship, you had to, if you were unvaccinated, like with a kid, you had to be on a official excursion to get off the ship in any of the ports we stopped at. At least that was Royal's rule. I don't know if that was the local rule or by the local governments or not. And we had to have our vaccinating card to get on the ship. We had to have a negative COVID antigen test within 2 days of getting on the ship. You could do it through Royal Caribbean, where like they sent you the kit and you fucking did it over Zoom in front of some person so they can watch you do it and do the test. Or you can go to a doctor and get a doctor's report of your negative result. But we had a good time. But so what I've been reading, because I had joined the Royal Caribbean Reddit before we went on our trip to, ask questions and shit. And it's been popping up as people talking about their experiences. And a lot of people on the ships are saying, hey, if I'm feeling sick, well, fuck, my cruise is over. If I call the medical guy and say, hey, I'm not feeling good, you're confined to your room more or less at that point. Your cruise is over. You paid money to stay in what amounts to a small hotel room with a shitty TV. So they said people aren't saying they're not feeling good, which is probably one of the reasons it's spreading so fast on the ship, because people don't want to be quarantined on a cruise ship. They paid to, enjoy it, and fuck, they're going to enjoy it. So people being selfish are not helping. I saw today Carnival said one of their ships had the same issue. There's having issues with a bunch of people being sick. I fully expect it to get shut down again here. Royal stopped taking new bookings for January as of yesterday. So I kind of expect it all to stop again, which sucks.
What a time to be alive, man. What a time to be alive.
We played trivia like 15 times on our cruise. So let me know when you want to go on one. I could use some help.
Yeah, maybe after COVID's eliminated. Oh, but wait, it never will be because of these dumbasses in this country.
You're gonna get a flu shot or a COVID shot right next to your flu shot every year, man. That's not going.
Oh, and that's fine with me. Oh, and that's another thing. What? Oh, Louisiana. Some guy's calling himself the COVID police because Louisiana just put it in this for all the schools. Like you have to have a COVID shot to go to school, just like all your other immunizations. So, but some guy's saying he's going to arrest the governor on February 7th because he's violating some laws that he thinks.
Why February 7th? Is that?
Yeah, I don't know. It was some crazy fuck. He calls himself the COVID police. He's February 7th. I guess he's giving himself time to do it legally and all this kind of stuff. He's a citizen patrol or whatever the fuck you want to call him. So,
speaking of COVID, I don't know if you guys saw the news in the last couple of days. Pfizer and one other company have gotten pre-approval or whatever from the FDA for a COVID pill.
Right.
Which, if I remember correctly, the reason that the vaccine was able to get emergency approval was because there was no other treatment. So now if there's a pill, I don't know if some of those vaccines will no longer be, once the pill is approved, if the vaccines will no longer have their emergency authorization to be used anymore.
The Pfizer's,
not all of them are FDA approved yet.
Yeah, but Pfizer is, isn't it? I think Pfizer's fully FDA approved.
Pfizer and Moderna are both FDA approved.
Speaking of COVID, I mean, I have some sad news. I don't know if you guys saw on Instagram, Leaping Liz, that great interview from last year, cosplayer over in Hawaii and all that kind of stuff. She's hit pretty hard with COVID right now. She put it on her. Yeah, she put it on her Instagram. She was going to go for the monoclonal treatment, the antibody treatment, but she can't get anywhere that's giving infusion. So it's because I think, and I'm not saying anything out of turn. She put it on her Instagram. It's because of her, she's immunocompromised. So she's got 3-4 shots, however many shots we can get. She's fully up to date and she still got hit. She says it's pretty going pretty rough right now. Not to the point where she has to go to an ER or anything, but I was really sad to see that when I saw that. So, hey, Liz, going out to you. I hope you get better soon. And let's see. From there, we can go into Mike's Chad moment of the week or Craig moment of the week, depending on which one of you I want to ask, whatever.
No, Chad's, but that's my fault. We shouldn't have brought in the Craig part. But Chad's much better. We'll keep it as Chad.
What you got, Mike?
Home Depot. I think I talked to Sainte about this, and he said he wanted me to go into it, right? All right. So I have my sliding doors on my front door, impact resistant, installed by Home Depot in September 2020. It was a whole fucking fiasco. They didn't finish until January. I didn't pay for them fully until January by the time they fixed everything that was fucked up. It's the first time I've ever had any installation done by them. It's probably the last time. So in March, I called them because I'm like, listen, these screen doors on the sliders are just they're not functioning properly. And so they sent some guy out. He comes out. He's like, oh, yeah, whoever installed these, they messed it up. It's not supposed to be working like this. I did my best to fix it for you. I'm like, OK, whatever. He's like, hey, call me if you have any other issues, because they're just going to send me out anyway. So in June, I text him and I'm like, hey, man, the paint on the front door, when they put in the front door, they put it so it would scrape against the frame because they installed the frame or the door like crooked. So it got fixed. But in the meantime, like the paint was scraped off one point. And I'm like, we paid, I don't know, $10,000. I don't know how much the fucking impact door was. I don't know how much it was. But, we paid a good amount of money for it. So I'm like, hey, we want to get this fixed. It should be fixed. He's like, OK, no problem. I don't hear back from the guy until October. So I text him like, hey, dude, by the way, now the screen door lock in the dining room is not functioning properly. It's a flimsy piece of plastic and metal, and it's just not functioning properly. So we need to get that fixed too. And what's going on with the paint that I asked you about 4 months ago? He's like, oh, the paint's on back order for 6 months, and they probably won't send me out to do the screen door lock until the paint's in. So I'll let you know. Motherfucker doesn't get back to me for another month, still doesn't get back to me. So at that point, I'm done reaching out to this guy. And so I call Home Depot corporate and they say, yeah, it's been over a year since your install. So you have to go to the local company, or you have to go to the manufacturer, PGT. So I contact PGT via email. I don't hear any response for 2 weeks. I call them. I leave a voicemail for customer service because I can't get a hold of anyone besides an operator that just keeps directing me to customer service. And finally, I get a hold of a live person 2 days later when I have to call back myself because no one's called me. And their response to me as well, since Home Depot told you it was done during installation, we're not going to do anything about the screen doors. Except for maybe the lock, if that is, a defect in the manufacturer defect. So they just told me basically to fuck off. But they did tell me they were going to call me the next day. Someone was going to call me that was actually handling my case. Never called me from PGT. So at this point, I'm pissed. And so that's when I mentioned it to Sainte that I was going to go around to, doing my executive email bomb. So I did. And hey, lo and behold, it gets results. I haven't gotten everything fixed yet, but I am getting an email from like a vice president every single fucking day asking me what's going on. I got someone who called me after she emailed saying that they were going to get an appointment scheduled. Obviously, it's the holidays, so I'm giving them a little leeway. And plus, like I said, the vice president still is asking me and following up until I get that scheduled. So nothing's been scheduled yet, but it seems like Home Depot is going to do the right thing and take care of and fix what they should have fixed from the offset. So, hey, the Chad thing works, man.
Mm-hmm.
Great story.
You have to shop at Lowe's from now on when they tell you not to come back.
Right. Here's the one thing I've always thought about. I was like, man, I would just like to be not like big time, like some Jake Paul or Mr. Beast, but just a good mid-level, like YouTuber influencer type. That way I just know that if a company doesn't give me good customer service, it's going to be like, if you could just do that on like your Twitter or your, YouTube account, you just send them and they say, oh, wait, he's got 1 million followers. We better follow, instead of having going through all, I got to speak to corporate. But even with that, if you were like, let's just say YouTube influencer, you're like, well, okay, I guess I'm going to have to call your corporate headquarters. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to make a podcast and a YouTube video about this situation. You see how fast these motherfuckers jump up. Like, just take like, I don't know, an MKBHD or any of these tech YouTubers, if they ever had a problem with a Home Depot or anything, I guarantee you'd see how fast they'd be like, oh, we better get on this problem. Or Casey Neistat, watch how fast I'm gonna get a video up on YouTube to shit on your company. So, but it's good to know that, Chad works, chatting works for the little guy too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to, the vice president is reaching out to me. They seem to be trying to do the right thing. Like I said, I probably won't have them install anything again. And that's just, we had Lowe's do all our other installs and they all went great. The only reason we didn't use Lowe's is because when they came out we were replacing French doors with sliders. And the guy who had either done the renovations on the house, it wasn't the original thing. He had put these French doors in, which I guess weren't permitted correctly or whatnot. So the guy from Lowe's comes out and he's like, yeah, we can't do that. You see that drop there? You can't have a 6-inch drop like that. Home Depot comes out and be like, we can do it. I don't give a fuck. And they weren't the only company. Lowe's is the only company that said no. Like I had multiple estimates come out and give me estimates. And we just decided to go with the bigger company with Home Depot because they say we have a lifetime warranty and blah, 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 and all this kind of shit. So, I mean, it's probably, unless we change our minds, it's probably the last time we go to Home Depot. But that 4-month install thing it was over in a few days, but just getting everything to the right place where it should have been after the first few days of getting installed. I don't know if I want to go through that again. So, but you can reach out. I think it's what is it? Something advocacy, Elliott advocacy. I think if you just Google like company executive emails, you probably go to Elliott Advocacy, and they will they have all the emails listed there. You just drop them an email, say this is what's happening, what's going on, and they take care of you usually. So, all right, we've talked for a long time. Anything else, you guys? Any burning topics you guys want to talk about before we leave?
No, not really. All right. Is anything? Just. Hope everyone's having a good holiday season. If your 2021 wasn't great, hope your 2022 is going to be better. Hopefully we make this podcast better. We make, our social media presence better, all those type of things. And just hoping for 2020 to be better than 2021.
Get well, Vinny.
What does that
sure.
I'm assuming he's sick. That's why he's not here, right? Oh.
Vinny, I don't know. Vinny was posted a painting on Facebook the other day. I wish him well. Like I said, I wish him no ill will, and he's welcome back at any time. But I don't know. I still don't understand it. I do. Like if he came back, I'd let him come back. I have no problem with that. He's one of the original crew, man. I would never turn him away. I just don't fully understand why he left, but that's fine. I mean, he left his job too. I don't know if I guess it's past a midlife crisis, but
you mean the busing job or a different job?
No, he left the TV job. Remember?
He never got the bus job.
Yeah, he never got the bus job because he because of COVID and everything. But then we were like, he's like, I was gonna be around all these snot-nosed little kids. We're like, yeah, but you're gonna do that anyway. But whatever. I think he's kind of waiting on things. I think it was a health thing too, like you said. I listened to one of the old podcasts and he said like one of the health physical things or something he had to do or whatever. I don't know. But I do want to wish everyone happy holidays. By the time this comes out, Christmas will be over. It'll be Boxing Day. When's Kwanzaa? Is that the 26th? Too.
I think so.
Yeah. So hey,
I don't know.
Why do we have the black guy on the podcast if he's not going to know when Kwanzaa is?
Why are you looking at me? What the hell?
Let's see. Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year's, because this is going to be the last one before New Year's too. And thanks for listening to The Usual Saints. Go to our website, theusualsaints.com. Follow us on social media at The Usual Saints. Email us, theusualsaints@gmail.com. It's all on the website. Go to the website. Rate us and review us. Rate us 5 stars. Oh, should we do that real quick for the end of the year? Should we do that the first? I mean, there's like 7 of them. None of them are new, but there's a few.
Sure. I mean, that should only take about 5 minutes. Yeah, you stick around, Jeremy. Let's let's reward some of the people giving us 5-star reviews with a little shout out. And, that's our policy now. Whatever you put, if you give us 5 stars, we'll read it. So good, bad, indifferent.
All right. So let's see. The latest one was in April, so we haven't had any in a while, but that's fine. So we have a Random Gamers Corner, which is a podcast, saying, looking forward to more episodes. I've listened to one episode so far, but I can already tell I'm going to enjoy the podcast with how I was already laughing or be interested in what you guys have to say. Can't wait to hear what other topics you all will cover on. Have a nice day. I wonder if they've listened since.
Yeah, my guess is they didn't listen to one episode. But anyway, moving on.
Then I got David M. Wine. I think he's another podcaster, but I'm not 100%. Not your usual podcast. See what he did there? Usual. There
you go, David.
Hey, at least it was personalized. The last one is just the template he puts on everyone.
This is fun. I like this. I mean, more people need to do 5-star reviews so we can read.
We need to I think from now on, when we start doing our social media, I'm going to really just blast out, hey, give us a 5-star review. I was like, listen for 5 minutes, give us a 5 and just put whatever you want and we will read them and we will say your name, leave your name and whatever. And we will definitely read your 5-star review.
This one says from David Wine says, the Usual Saints is an up and coming podcast, but don't hold it against them. That seemed like a knock. The hosts have an awesome dynamic where they talk about anything their heart tells them, even if I'm not the biggest sports person when it does come up. I also love how they have a number you can call them in on. So even though he didn't call in, but hey, see, it's a nice thing to have that number. Let's see. Miss
Has
Lady
anyone called in on the number? When's the last time that number's been used? When's the last time you checked?
I think once.
Okay.
From the other room of Mike's house.
No, that was Heather.
One of your coworkers call.
Yeah, she. The husband called when we were talking to the cop. Remember?
Yeah.
So that was fun. And then when we had the interview with Michaela Lee, that's when I had to figure out how to get everyone to hear the call, so I could hear the call. But it wasn't working properly at the time. The next one's from someone named Miss Lady with 2 eyes in lady, which I guess I had to explain. Great new podcast to listen to. Great podcast. Love the conversations you guys have. See, short, sweet, to the point. Yes. This one, I mean, I don't know this guy, but I mean, he gave us 5 stars. The title is 5 stars. It says it's from someone named Mr. Saint. It says, great new podcast. Subscribe and listen.
Who's that asshole? I have no idea.
Speaking of people I don't know, here's one from someone named Heather D 102578. It says, funny stuff, very funny and entertaining. Love your stuff about random topics.
Wouldn't it be funny if all of them were from people? It was all from us and family members. Even
get hit tonight, right?
Here's one from someone named HFHFJFNRBFJ. The title is Gabe. Don't know what that means. Love the timely aspect of this podcast. I came for the pop culture updates. I stayed for the hosts. We're very charming.
There you go.
That must have been ours.
This one's from someone named Pound Bellark or hashtag Bellark. I say pound. Look at that. Love the pod. Okay, wow. I love how real and hilarious these guys get, whether it's pop culture or more serious topics. From what I have heard on the episode I have listened to, they are fun to listen to while taking a drive, working around the house, or just simply sitting and listening. Well, there you go.
Wow. All right. Some of these make me feel better. I'm man,
we were really good last year when you weren't on Saint.
Yeah, but I was just about to say that. I was like, these must have been all the episodes I was on the boat for.
Let's see. Big Brain Hour says, easy listen, great chemistry. These guys are really easy to listen to. The chemistry between the hosts is instant and natural. They have a way of taking the usual and making it interesting and relaxing to listen to. Definitely give these guys a listen.
All right.
Just out of curiosity, how many 1-star reviews do we have?
I was just about to say.
We don't have any. We have that one
2-star.
Yeah, so we have 15 ratings. Our total is 4.8 out of 5. And so if you look at the podcast under 4, 3, and 1, there's a slight bit of purple, but I think that's just there. I don't think that means it's a rating.
Gotcha.
Then under 2-star, we have, it looks like 1 rating, but they didn't leave a comment. They just rated us.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
Damn, those comments would be more fun for me, right?
Yeah, right.
The Real Toady says, definitely a fun time. Sometimes things can be chaotic. Sometimes things can be chaotic when you have 4 people on a podcast, but these guys handle it perfectly. They kept the conversation engaging, and I loved the episode topics. Subscribed with a check mark. Are you really, though? Are you really, Toady?
How many subscriptions do you have? Can you see?
No. I mean, I can.
We can see the amount of downloads, right? Are we still like?
I don't know how accurate Anchor is because they're owned by Spotify and Anchor,
Yeah, it's only, you kind of only get the analytics that you get from the, I think they use the Spotify, and I think they still use the Apple, whatever the Apple is. But if people are getting us from other places, like, I don't know if we're on Stitcher or any of those other places, I think it's kind of hard for them to figure those out. But I mean, still, it gives you a general gist of how we're doing,
Right. 2 more. Let's see. Millennial Marriage Podcast says, "Well, am I good? You guys hear me? Okay. Okay. Sorry, I was hearing some weirdness in my headphones. Sorry about that." Millennial Marriage Podcast says, "Great chemistry, great hosts, great chemistry. Always keeps me coming back for more. 5 out of 5." Are you still listening, Millennial Marriage Podcast? I hope so. Give them a listen if you guys want to hear it. I'm not sure if I ever listened to them.
You sure? Have you listened to them yet? You sure you want to say give them a listen?
Yeah, give them a listen. Why not? I encourage anyone to listen to any podcast, even if it sucks. You leave a 5-star review with your comments. MJM Blues 248 says, "Another diamond in a river of rocks. Just subscribed when I listed, I think he meant listened. Just subscribed when I listened to their latest episode with Elephant Boy from the Howard Stern Show. The show progresses nicely and has interesting guests on it. A must listen. MJM Micro Break Podcast." Oh, yeah, that's the guy on Twitter. Yeah, I think he does like really short podcasts, like less than 5 minutes, like it says in his name. And so,
the British guy?
No, it's a different guy. I never heard back from the British guy. I would like to have him as a guest on the guest host or whatever.
I forgot about Elephant Boy. Yeah, he actually listened. He actually knew something about one of our episodes. That might be the only specific one.
I know, right? It was like, okay, there you go.
Can't believe Tan Mom didn't bring in the people.
So that's a rundown of the 5-star ratings. If you guys leave 5 stars, we'll read them every episode if we remember to, and if not, we'll just do a rundown like we just did. I mean, that was 15 or so reviews in
Well, short amount. You leave a 1-star and it's funny. We'll read those too, right?
No.
We
need to get the 5-star out there so it helps reach people. That's the Apple algorithm.
Right. Even if you think we're the shittiest, you ever leave 5 stars and we'll let people know, okay, how you feel about it, but it has to be 5 stars. Real quick, Mike, if you could see, let's for a year wrap up, what was our most popular show by whatever, I guess, Anchor analytics or Anchor downloads? What's been our most popular podcast?
I mean, that's far and above. I mean, I know which one it is without even looking, but I'll double check. I'm sure it's the Zeb Wells episode.
Zeb Wells, or I was going to say, is it Leaping Lizard or?
No, Zeb Wells has 115 plays. The last Blockbuster episode, which had no guests on it, and we had the top 3 celebrity crushes, that has 92. Mike EP episode.
People were searching for the damn movie.
Yeah, probably. Mike EP had 91. Michaela Lee had 76. So, it's usually when we had the guests. In spring, we were hitting our stride, man. We were getting like 70, 80, 90 an episode. And then, it just started falling off. Like, I think when we took when we headed into the summer, we were getting a little lower. We went from like 70s, 60s. Elephant Boy only has 32 plays according to Anchor. I don't see how that's right, but whatever. And then we get to the latest ones, and let's see the Mike Richards, our season finale, had 51 listens, so that was season 2 finale. These latest episodes, though, go ahead.
Ones with people who might have a following of their own do better.
Yeah. I try to put what we're talking about so that way people might, when people Google topics or look for something on a podcast, it might come up. But the latest ones don't seem to have as many listens. So without going into specifics.
Right. I mean, we had the last one. I mean, our last guest was the cosplay. We had her on, even though she had sounded just I guess she was staying at her parents' place. So there was a little delay in her sound, but
yeah, I think her sound was fine in the podcast. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, it might not be as entertaining, but I do a quick edit on the podcast. I literally don't touch anything except for if I need to bleep something out, which has happened twice maybe. And then I just take out the silences, which sometimes I feel like I should leave in, but I do cut them out just to make it feel a little more fast paced. So yeah, if you leave us 5 stars, again, listen to us wherever you find us, usualsaints.com. It is on, I think, every podcast platform I can get it on: Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Deezer, everything I could get it on, I put it on. And you'll find us next week. We'll put out another episode. We have Isabella Tugman, the voice actor. I don't think Jeremy's going to be there for that interview, unfortunately, but we'll put that out. I think Sainte will be editing that episode. So Sainte, you're going to have your hands full. You got to figure out how to do that.
Edit or just a post? I just need to make sure I get all the login info for the I assume I know what it is, but I'll just catch up with you, just make sure I have everything. And a lot of that stuff, I hate it because they need the 2-step authorization. I think it still goes to your phone, so we'll just have to figure that out.
Oh yeah, we'll figure it out. The posting's not so bad. It's the editing thing. You just got to put the music in. You know what you're doing because you do the USSR, but you got to. I think everything's up on the Google Drive. You got the bumpers, the music, and everything else. But it's just different stuff.
But when you put together the podcast, do you do them separate, like the intro and Anchor? You know how Anchor, if you load like one audio file, it stays in there, it stays in like your library or whatnot. So,
oh no, yeah, I edited it all in Adobe, and then I upload 3 separate tracks, A, B, and C, and I put our music intro in. I do that all in Adobe. You can do it however you want as long as it sounds good. I don't care. But the bumpers, you got to figure out how to put the bumpers in over the music. See, that's the thing. I put like the IDs in. I do the cold open, the music, the bumper, which plays over the music, and then we come into our show. So gotcha. I don't know. You'll figure it out. Yep. Talking shop, but that's all right. All right. So I know, right? I want to thank everyone for listening for 2021. Next year, 2022. See, so 2020 as well. Let's hope it's not, because 2020 sucked balls, and I'm hoping 2022 is a little better. I'm going to turn 42. Jeremy will be 53, and we'll go from there. I'm going to bust Jeremy's balls since he's barely paying attention.
Well, I hear you. I got you.
All right. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to Usual Saints for
not great. I assumed this was all getting cut because that was the boring conversation.
I'm going to leave it all in. Fuck you. For Jeremy and Saints, I'm Mike D. Thanks for listening to the Usual Saints.
Millennial Marriage is going to tell you in the next comment that wasn't very good to leave that in.
As long as they leave a 5-star, I don't care what they put. All right.